For nearly 2 decades, Wilma Rodrigues has been on a mission to ensure that no waste goes to waste. Wilma's SAAHAS, which offers end-to-end waste management solutions, is collecting over 100 tons of waste every day and converting the society's refuse into resource through recycling. Besides keeping the circular economy going, SAAHAS is empowering informal waste collectors, helping them become micro-entrepreneurs and lead a life of dignity. Here's the SAAHAS story.
I used to be a tour guide, working a lot with German tourists, taking them through India, enjoying the beauty of India, its culture, its landscape, but always marred by, the waste that one saw and the indifference around waste. And I remember the occasion when, the German tourist especially kept on asking me about, how we in India were looking at waste and wanting to change the situation on the ground. So that was for me the starting point, and then that journey of starting SAAHAS as an NGO in 2001 and then moving it, or rather looking at a second entity for the organization as SAAHAS Zero Waste, a private limited and a social enterprise. Conversion of waste to resources is our solution. Our first vertical is called the Zero Waste program, and for that we work with all bulk generators. We work in cities especially with the large corporate offices, with tech parks, with residences, with educational institutions. Bulk waste generators contribute 40% to a city's waste. So that's a huge number, and that's our customer base. First of all, we definitely ensure that segregation at source becomes part of the culture, and then all the waste, the dry waste, then comes to our material recovery facility for further sorting into different categories. And we have MOUs and contracts with all our different recyclers. So currently we are on an average of a little over 100 tons of waste per day. The second vertical that we have is called EPR, or Extended Producer Responsibility, where today under regulation, brands that produce electronic items as well as plastic packaging waste are expected to take back their waste from consumers and channel it into proper recycling. So we then work with various brands to enable that reverse logistics system. And then the final vertical is closing the loop, or circle up as we call our third vertical, because this is our sale of products. All our customers, they have been able to come to a point where they are accountable for 96% of the waste that they generate. Here we are transitioning 4 million plus people that have been engaged in waste in the most horrific ways possible. To formal systems, to entrepreneurship, to people taking responsibility for their waste.
India is home to over 70 million people with disabilities. Discriminated, deprived and disadvantaged, most of them struggle to find a job. Meera Shenoy, through her organization Youth for Jobs, has made it her job to find ability in disability. Youth for Jobs is skilling, training and equipping rural youth with disabilities to become industry ready. Here's how Youth for Jobs is changing the mindset from can't do to can do.
I wanted to work with the most vulnerable segment of the population. And if you look at youth with disabilities, the education levels are incredibly low, and therefore only 30% of them are employed, and most of them in the unorganized sector with very, very low salaries. So my vision when I set up Youth for Jobs was to ensure that all persons with disabilities have equal access to education and employment. When we set up our first batch, we were waiting for youth with disabilities to enroll. but found that there were very few enrolling. And then when we went to the villages, we saw parents think that their child with disability is useless, especially the girls, they keep them hidden. So we realized there was a big challenge there, and we started a very, very scaled up Village Connect program. To reach the villages, we have large number of grassroots workers whose job is to go from village to village and to tell them that actually there is ability in disability. To make this sensitization attractive to the villagers, we are first giving them a small module of digital literacy. In the companies, we do a whole series of work from telling them where the jobs are, which is called a job role matrix, accessibility audits, helping them to make the infrastructure and the workplace friendly to youth with disabilities who are hired. Today, I'm happy to say that our Village Connect program has reached 9.2 million households, and we work with about 1,100 companies. As we started working with a lot of companies started asking us for educated manpower. So then we started the College Connect program. So we set up our smart inclusion centers, which work with the educators to sensitize them, to teach them sign language. In the last 10 years, we've trained about 32,000 youth with disabilities and put them into quality jobs. You have to multiply that figure by 5, about 150,000, because typically in homes, a youth with disability is a drain on the family, and suddenly instead of being a drain, what happens is that he becomes an asset, most often the highest earning member, and contributing actively to the family incomes. These youth now are becoming our grassroots leaders, and they have a very active urge to give back. When we walk in a forest, when we go in a garden, everything is not the same. Some trees have dried leaves, some have red leaves, some have green leaves, and we say, wow, so beautiful. But when it comes to human beings and their differences, if one doesn't have a hand, if one can't speak, or if someone is an acid victim, you say, oh God, you don't say so beautiful. Okay, so the lesson is that learn from nature.
In a gentle way, you can shake the world, said Mahatma Gandhi, and our 5 change agents exemplify that. We salute the social enterprises displayed by Osama Manzar, Ajaita Shah, Anike Diogar, Vilma Rodriguez and Meera Shenoy. And it is now time for us to announce the winner of the Social Entrepreneur of the Year for 2022. The award goes to Anike Diogar for the impact created by Haq Darshak, which is empowering millions of vulnerable families and small business owners get their rightful access, their haq, to government programs. Congratulations to Aniket and his team. Wish you the very best of luck. And with that, it is time for us to say goodbye this year. We'll be back next year with stories of many more social entrepreneurs who are tirelessly working to bring in change. I leave you with this quote from Nelson Mandela: "It is in your hands to create a better world for all who live in it." Thanks for watching.